Hello Stampers, it is Thursday night at 7:30 and I'm back. I've been gone a little bit in the last little while, but I am back tonight with a super easy card we're going to make that uses the Textures and Frames stamp set, one of the Sale-a-bration stamp sets. So if you don't know who I am, my name is Wendy Fee. I am in Brooklyn, Ontario, Canada, and we're going to just jump right in tonight. So the Textures and Frames stamp set is one of the Sale-a-bration freebies right now, and I think it kind of needs a little bit of love because it's not one of those super popular ones. It doesn't have flowers and things like that, but I have it and I got it because I like the elements, because as we've talked about before, I'm a scrapbooker. Not that I've had time to do that recently, but I like these because I can turn around and I can do things with them on pages, whether I use them for backgrounds or whether I add them to elements. Haven't quite got there yet, but it is something I can use. So you can find this particular stamp set on page 12 of the Little Sale-a-bration category catalog, and there are 3 different options here just in terms of samples, so you can see what they did. So this one here, they just took the circle that's in here and they stamped it and then cut it out with a punch or a no, sorry, that would be one of the layering circle dies. This one here, they've just used the 3 lines to make hashtags. I guess those, well, I'm going to call them hashtags because that's kind of sort of where we are at this point. And then this one here, they've just used that particular stamp here and they've just used it in different colors to kind of create something that you can go and easily use as a background. So this particular card, and I do have others here to show you afterwards too, because, you know, I have been busy today. I've not had any crafting time in forever, but, you know, everybody was out of my house today. It's first day of school and it was fabulous. So this particular one here, the lines that are down the side, those have been stamped using that 3-line stamp. And I put that stamp on my Stamparatus. I'll show you just in a moment how I did that. And so I just stamped on those little pieces there, added some ribbon, put a sentiment on, and then kind of put the whole card together. So I have the bits and pieces to make this, but we're not making it in these colors, the fresh freesia and the black. We're still using black, but we're not using fresh freesia. So I'm just going to put it over there so I remember sort of what it's supposed to look like. Just leave it up there over in the corner. Okay, so tonight we're going to use pale papaya instead. So I have some pale papaya cardstock, and I have some of the matching pale papaya ribbon here, and then I've still got the black, so I have the black twine and the cardstock and all the rest of it. But the first thing we're going to do really quickly, and it is kind of relatively quickly, is we're going to go ahead and we're going to stamp on the lines. So you can probably see them, the lines are on the plate already. So this is a piece of paper that I used 2 weeks ago when I showed you how to make the card that looks like that. And because it was the one that was sitting in here earlier today, this is the one that I used. So I know from where my lines are that I want them to be, I want it to be about here, because I have this set up. There we go. Okay. This is like a 1-inch stamp, and so what you can do is you can kind of line it up with these, so you know if this is 1 inch that you're going to move it down through the hinges every time you stamp. So I'm going to put this underneath the black ink pad just under here to make it a little bit easier to ink it, and I'll pop open my ink pad. So I'm just going to ink it, and then I'm going to turn it over, stamp it down, and then I'm going to lift it up and I'm going to take it out of the hinges and move it down by a hinge. Okay, so once I've got it there, I'm going to ink it up again and then turn and place it. I'm going to press it down, give it a good press. Just make sure this hasn't moved too much. Then I'm going to take this out yet again and I'm going to move it down another hinge. We call this hinge stamping. And it's a great way to get things to line up properly on your project. So I'm going to do the same thing, and I'm just going to keep going down for the rest. It's also a little bit easier to ink this up when you've got something just sitting underneath the plate. Okay. Stamparatuses are fantastic because they give you a lot of control and they really do allow you to stamp something evenly and accurately the first time. Okay. So there we go. So I have all of those lines just stamped stamped on the side. I'm going to pull this off and I'm going to put my Stamparatus just out of the way. Okay. All right. So now you can see I've got my lines. And where'd the card go? Okay, there we go. So that's the 2 of them side by side. I am going to close the ink so that I don't rub my fingers through it. It's been a little while since I've had ink all over the place, but you know. Okay, so I'm going to make this as a thank you card yet again, because I go through a lot of these. So the thank you for this comes from Artistically. I know it's the first day of school, but you know, clearly I just did not enjoy my time enough. So Artistically Inked, it's got that thanks. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to just stamp it in this corner here. Okay. All right, so I'm just going to stamp it on there, just on the bottom right. Okay, perfect. I got a nice thank you there. Probably a little bit lower than I would have wanted it, but really it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. Whoever gets this card is never going to know, unless of course it's one of you who's watching this video, they'll never know that it's a little bit lower than the one on the other side. Okay, that's still fine. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of the ribbon, and I just want to cut a piece that is long enough to go down the front and then wind around the back. Okay, so you can kind of see on this one here, like the ribbon does sit underneath those two black pieces of the baker's twine. And when I put it on, I actually did make an effort to kind of have it so that the edges of these, the edges of the lines sit sort of in the center there, just so that they would be completely covered up at the point they wouldn't, you know, kind of move around. Because you can see them through this ribbon. It's not opaque. It definitely has a bit of a sheen to it, and you can definitely see what's going underneath. Oh. Adhesive. Okay, so just going to kind of line that up. Make sure I know where I want my adhesive to be. Okay, it's kind of lined up, so I'm going to just turn it over. Add some adhesive here, add some adhesive here, and then I'm going to pick it back up. So I just want to make sure that's where I want it to be before I start gluing things down, because there's nothing worse than ripping things apart. Okay, so I've got the one side down, and I've got the other side down. Okay. All right, there we go. Okay, good. So I have my line there. I'm just going to put it down to make sure that it's even. It is. Just lined it up against the little corners of my grid paper. Okay, so the next thing that I'm going to quickly do is I'm just going to take some black baker's twine. This is from the Baker's Twine Essentials pack. I talk about this from time to time, really because I love them. I'm a big fan of baker's twine and rhinestones. It's just, those are just two things that I just really enjoy using. So I kind of measure this out, wrap it around twice to make sure I've got it. Okay. Oh, that's a little bit too long. I don't need that much. I need that on that end, and I need this on the other end. There we go. Okay. All right, so to wind this on, because if you have a look at this one, you're going to see there's two of them that are side by side. So they're not glued on the front, they're only glued on the back, and they don't cross on the front. If they're going to cross anywhere, it's always on the back. And I'm going to add just a little bit of adhesive over top of the ribbon, because you can do that. You just have to make sure that you're holding your ribbon down so that you can have some adhesive on there, but you want to make sure that you have some there. Okay, so I'm going to just take this, I'm going to put it on the top, so it's going to sit over top of that center section, but I want the first one to be a little bit to the left because I am going to put two of them side by side. So I've got that, and now I'm going to just wrap it around carefully. Okay, so I do have the two of them are side by side, yes, and they're not crossed, yes, perfect. Okay, now my fingers are going to be super sticky because of all of the adhesive on the back. All right, so we've got that. Okay, I'm just going to quickly make sure it's all stuck down. All right, so we've got those pieces finished, and now I need my cardstock, which is sitting right over here. So I've got my pale papaya cardstock. I am just going to go ahead and burnish that fold so it's nice and crisp and flat. And then for this guy, I need to glue this now to, oh no, I take that back. Oh, there's like a little bit of adhesive on there. I'll have to get that off after. This is glued flat, and then we're going to put this on with dimensionals. Okay, so add a little bit of adhesive here. As I say, my poor brain, I know that it's I know it's the first day of school, which it really is not a good enough excuse for me, but I've been really tired in the last little while. I think the stress of this past couple months is starting to leave, which is fantastic. However, it does make for some tiring days. Okay, so I've got that glued flat, so now I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to add some Stampin' Dimensionals to the back of this. I'm going to adhere it that way. So just put them on. Not being too fussy about exactly where they go, but I do want to make sure that it doesn't flop in the center, because if you don't have enough, then it kind of tends to flop on the edges. And I don't want that. So let me get these off. Okay, come on. All right, there we go. There's a bunch of them there. Gonna grab a couple more. Okay. All right, so now I'm just gonna go and lay this on top. Make sure it's relatively straight because the one this afternoon was not, and I had to pull it apart, which is how I know that it sucks to take things apart. Okay, so we've got our card like this, and then the last thing I'm going to add to it is some of the 2021-2023 in color jewels, because the Pale Papaya is one of the current in colors. So I think I'm just going to grab a big one. Oh, that's a little bit low. Big one there. Put a small one just over here. Like I said, I like rhinestones. These ones are just pretty because they match the cardstock. Okay, there we go. So our card's done. So really, really, really quick to make it. The hardest part, honestly, is adding this ribbon on there. But if you have that stamp on your Stamparatus, you can go ahead and you can just make a ton of these right off the bat. It's really easy to put that thanks on. And then you can start adding them to card with whatever you want in here. It doesn't have to be that ribbon. It could be something else entirely. Just like these do not have to be the in color rhinestones. They can also be something different. Okay, so these are the two cards side by side, so you can have a quick look. Thank you, Joanne. So really super easy. And something that I think it would be really nice just to pop one of these in the mail from time to time. I have a whole bunch of people I need to thank now, just because of a few things that happened at work recently. And so I'm really happy that I've got some cards I can send out. Okay, so I did promise a couple of other ones. So over here, this first one here is made with the circles, and it's pretty bright. So that is Pale Papaya. You've got Flirty Flamingo. You've got, begins with a C. I should know. Calypso Coral. No. Coastal Cabana. And then Flirty Flamingo, Pale Papaya, Old Olive, Coastal Cabana. So these are obviously all in this particular stamp set, the Textures and Frames. And then the sentiment itself is from Counting Sheep. So the sheep set that's in the Sale-a-bration catalog. So all of the stamps on this card were all free with purchase. That's kind of nice because if you're getting some of these and collecting some of them, you know that you've got some easy cards. So this one was actually based off a card by Kylie Bertucci. I just really liked her layout, so I stole it. But then what I did is I made a second one using the rectangles. So instead of having the circles on the other card, I just went and decided to put on the rectangles instead. So these are the same colors. So it's your Coastal Cabana, it's your Flirty Flamingo, it's your Pale Papaya, and it is a completely different card. Like, they do obviously have the same feel to them, but they're not the same because they've got different layouts to them. So, but all still the same stamps. So just the same ones from these ones, as well as that same Counting Sheep sentiment. Okay, so I'm going to put this guy over here. And then the last one I do have to share tonight is this one here. So this is obviously another thank you card. It's mint macaron on the back. And I just wanted something a little bit different. So these are those same rectangles that you see here. And I just layered them one on top of the other. And then took a bunch of ribbon, cut it in half, tied it in a bow, and then glued it on. So this is certainly a little more in depth because the sentiment has been hand cut. You do have some roughened edges. You've got an embossing folder, but it is something a little bit different and something that works really well for a thank you card or a birthday card, or you could even make this like a baby shower card. You just need to change that up. Okay, so those are the card samples I have tonight that all work with this particular stamp set. Okay, like I said, this is kind of overlooked in that little catalog, needs a little bit of love, but if you are creative or if you happen to go online and look for some things, you can certainly use the 6 stamps that are in here in many different ways. Oh, I forgot to mention, we didn't have this one here, but it is sitting underneath that panel right in here, so you can kind of see that it adds a little bit of background. So all of these have been used on the 3 different card designs that I have this evening. Okay, so that's all I've got for tonight. Don't forget that this one is available for free with a $60 purchase during Sale-a-bration. Sale-a-bration does end on September the 30th, okay? And if you have not yet registered for the Stampin Extravaganza this weekend on Facebook, the link would be, it's probably a couple posts earlier from this. It is on Sunday from 9 until 9. We have a ton of things planned. There's all kinds of videos and card samples and whatnot that you're going to see over the course of the day. The only thing we ask is that it's Canadians only. You will ask for the name of a demonstrator when you go to get in, and no demonstrators please, because this is like a thank you to our customers. So if you've not registered and signed up for that, go ahead and do that off of the link below. I can turn around and repost it again. And there was something else. And Merry and Bright registration is still open as well. I am going to turn around and post that because I've not done that recently, and I need to get that back out there. Like I said, it's been a long month. I'm really happy to be back doing this again after moving kids around and all the stuff that comes with that. Okay, so if you have any questions this evening, or if there's any comments you want to make, please go ahead and add them in the comments below. These cards will go in the mail to a friend or two or a customer, so don't be surprised if you get one of these in the mail, maybe one of those, with your order. And like I say, if you have any questions, please go ahead and add them in the comments, or just send me a private message and we'll go from there. Thank you very much. Have yourself a lovely, lovely evening.